today we have some amazing special guests. Here we have Ben from Artifact and Izzy from Genies. How's it going, guys?
Very well.
Hello. Thank you for having us on.
Awesome. Before we hop right into today's talk as well, I guess let's do some quick intros around. I don't know, Ben, you want to kick it off?
Yeah, if you want. So I'm Ben. I'm French, as you can hear immediately. I'm one of the 3 co-founders of Artifact, and we've been working a lot and trying to create a kind of a blueprint of what we think a brand of the future that's thinking metaverse first would be. And very happy to be here. My background, I used to work in luxury and fashion, and then I was for 4 years in the full big growth of esports at Fnatic, the biggest European esports team, and that's when I was there that I met my 2 co-founders, and then we created Artifact in January 2020.
Awesome. And you guys have an upcoming big project with Clone and Clone X coming up.
Yeah.
So we'll have to dive a little into that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Izzy.
Absolutely. Yeah. Izzy Pollak here, founding team and head of community over at Genies. Also a partner in our venture arm, which allowed us to participate in Artifact's fundraising and invest. So really excited to be amongst family here today. For us, we've been building digital identity and ways for people to express and represent themselves online for the last 4 years. And so for us, we're not reacting to this moment. We've been building for this moment since our inception, and we're incredibly excited to see the world catching up to some of the ideas and prospects that we've been dreaming about since 2017. My background is in acting and directing. I was actually originally brought on to build out the personality and the emotions of the avatars. And of course, like any startup, you wear a billion hats. And so now I'm proud to be leading our community efforts and nurturing our first, several thousand community members as we usher them into our upcoming marketplace called The Warehouse. So exciting times all around.
Awesome. We'll dive a little more into that too. And I see that you guys are both kind of matching. You guys both got 2 blue hair guys.
My profile picture is worth a lot more than his for now.
Oh yeah.
I appreciate the caveat at the end. It's something to aspire to, my friend.
Yeah,
Ben was just saying.
It's actually an interesting point because, for us, we really do see what we're building as avatars for the middle class, as an article came out recently to share. We're building on flow and taking the stance that we are because, we're not building a project for 10,000 people. We're building a company and a platform that can support billions. And if you want to bring billions into blockchain and into the crypto community, it has to be accessible. So it's interesting that you bring up that price point conversation, Benoit, because we're trying to find a way so that it isn't an arm and a leg or a Lambo to flip to buy an avatar. We want to make it so that the kids who are dancing to Travis Scott and Fortnite in their room with strobe lights that they bought on Amazon, we want them to know exactly how to collect wearables from our marketplace so that they can represent themselves online as their best self. So it's a great way to actually begin.
Because I've been following you guys, since a while, and weren't you planning initially, and I don't know what's your plans now because we didn't catch up in a while, but weren't you planning to give, an avatar editor to all your users so that you're not going to monetize or sell the avatar itself and then, monetize more all the cosmetic items and wearables they can have in the marketplace?
Exactement. That's
Okay.
exactly what we're looking to do. We released an early build earlier this year that capped out the test flight almost immediately. So we took it off the market to allow our team to finish building, which will be then re-released later this year, if not early next, allowing people, like you mentioned, they get an avatar without having to spend any money, a baseline closet so they can start playing with our tools. And then our marketplace, which is called The Warehouse, built in partnership with Dapper Labs on Flow, that will be released in tandem so that people can collect culturally relevant, fantastical avatar wearables to customize their genie as they'd like.
You're doing the full PR spiel now.
I'm just sort of giving like
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, well, I think it's important because we're in a space where like blockchain is specific, where things are built, how people can access them. I like sharing the full picture so that when people are coming into it, they don't go to OpenSea to try and find what we're doing, right?
No,
it's a
for
specific,
sure.
if it's a specific location. So,
and also for your ambitions of ease of use and stuff, clearly Flow is a great partner.
Yes, absolutely. But man, I don't want to take over the show here. I'm excited about Clone X. I feel like I'm going to get the alpha by being here in the interview.
No, no alpha. No, but I mean, on this, us, we've been working on it since a while. Like even though we started more, as a sneaker company, because we always thought that sneakers were the first, item that would make the most sense to bring, as NFTs and to make digital versions, because there's a collectible aspect, there's an asset aspect, there's a reseller aspect, within the sneaker culture. But we always thought that, and we all grew up playing video games, and the three of us, we all spent shitloads of time on character editors. Every time I do a role-playing game, I always spend at least 3 hours editing my character before starting, what is sometimes like an 80 hours journey or more. So we always loved, the principle of avatar identities and being able to, shape who you are and do that. So, and also because once we bought our punks, we understood that it was really giving you access to a kind of secret society, and it was really the core thing you need for community building, because it starts with your identity and who you are, and then connect with people who are part of the same tribe in a sense, and then there's mini tribes forming depending on the traits you have and stuff like that. So, and we've been thinking that all the wearables we do at some point, you need to wear them somewhere, and not only on other people's avatars. But when you think about it today, most fashion brands, they had to go through a third party to have models, like model agencies, Edit, etc. But what if, as a fashion brand, you can also create your own characters that you dress with your fashion items? So we thought that was a big thing we could take on, and as you guys have seen on our teasers and stuff, we do full 3D, and we really merge all the stuff we love, so it's anime style based, done in 3D, which is really hard to do because you can really fuck up the anime look by doing 3D. But we also, everything we did, we custom modeled. So there's a mix of like techwear, streetwear, sci-fi type of traits, and some big surprises we haven't revealed yet. So we're still polishing everything, because we're not gonna release before we're sure it's what we want. But also, since day one, we already planned out all the roadmap, and instead of being stuff, because also we're already an established company, so it's easier for us to already invest in the roadmap steps rather than doing it only once we sold the project. So we've been planning all the utilities, and we're quite well known for having multiple utilities for NFTs. So we've been planning a lot of that and baked that in since day one. So super excited to reveal more of that as we get closer to the launch, which is quite soon. Actually, it's going to be this month. I can't say the precise date yet, but we're reaching it step by step.
Awesome. Yeah, it's going to be a big launch. We're definitely looking out for it as well too. Yeah, I guess a little bit more about like digital identities as well too for both you, Izzy, and Ben as well too. I know with the Clone X side, you guys are always been exploring kind of like digital meets physical identities as well too. I think you guys are introducing kind of like the forging concept upcoming in the future as well.
So, I mean, I think we're the ones who introduced forging in the first place when we did that with the sneakers. And, now it's a mechanism that's part of our brand and part of our brand experience for our collectors. So you'll see as we reveal more of that, but basically and I guess, Izzy must have been doing the same for a while with his team, but as part of the initial avatar drop, like we created almost like a full-on fashion line, like a fashion brand doing a fashion week collection. So I think there's more than 100 plus of unique items, plus design variations and stuff. And so we made them so that not all of them, but most of them, we already know how to produce them physically at some point, because when your identities start to permeate between your digital one and your real world one, it's cool that you can wear the same t-shirt that your avatar wears, or a hoodie or accessory. So we've been baking that in since a while, because now we have developed production capabilities within Artifact since day one. And we started with sneakers, which is the hardest thing to do, I mean, not as hard as an iPhone, but, it's still quite hard to make sneakers. And so now, making, high quality merch and merging words between what the avatar wear and what you can really wear is going to be something we're going to develop a lot.
Yeah, so you can kind of truly identify with kind of like your physical and digital stuff as well too. How about you guys, Izzy? Are you guys looking? Are you just heavily focused on the metaverse and looking at other everything digitally, or are you guys also looking physical as well too in terms of identity?
No, it's a great question. I mean, the interplay between digital and physical is what's slowly being erased, right? Like I said, even in like my first example, the Fortnite generation that literally buys strobe lights so they can have dance parties in their room with Travis Scott. That's what's happening. It's not even like someone, like the friction of having to like assemble your own dance party in your bedroom as like a 12-year-old kid is no longer an issue. Just jump on to Amazon, right? And you have this metaverse experience, this 4-dimensional experience. And so for us, especially because we're dealing with such high caliber global tastemakers, there's sort of this expectation that in some way there's going to be utility or a crossover or a transcendence between the digital and the physical. It's almost like a prerequisite these days. And so finding ways to merge that digital and physical experience is a big focus of ours. I can't share exactly how we're going to be doing that, but you can expect some interesting things happening later next year for sure.
Awesome. Looks like we won't be able to squeeze any alpha leaks from you guys today, but it's all good. In terms of, I guess, I think you guys covered a little bit more about a few things on the identities, especially you, as you kind of talked about how digital identities and being able to kind of provide accessibility and allowing more people to kind of get into the whole digital economy and worlds as well too. Plays a huge part in terms of being able to bring mass adoption into the space as well too. I guess thinking kind of like on the impact of like digital identities and seeing how the where that impacts kind of like marginal groups and others as well too. I guess how are you guys looking at giving or building avatars or digital avatars for the everyday person?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to tag into this because it's something I'm so passionate about. And even in the Twitter spaces and conversations we share often on, for example, the Ooh Shiny show in the morning with Herb, Ooh Shiny and Farouk and the rest of the crew, we hear stories all the time of how people's lives have totally changed because of the NFT space, whether that's through the Bored Apes or other incredible projects, hearing about mothers in El Salvador who previously were being gifted Bitcoin throughout the years to sort of evade some of the Western Union traps that exist when transmitting, currencies internationally. Hearing how this individual, for example, now their mom is an ape holder and her life is radically changed forever because she now has this new type of asset that is giving her confidence that things are going to be okay. In that same vein, we want to provide accessibility and opportunity for our collectors and for our community and for our holders, maybe not necessarily with such astronomical financial returns, although we'll let the market decide that, with supply and demand, how that is dictated. But for us, it's really how do we create NFTs as identity and representation? How do we form a culture around collecting, not necessarily to speculate and flip, but to represent and express who we are on the inside, who we truly want to be. And through our conversations with our community, as we're slowly starting to build, I'm hearing every single day of stories of people who say, I'm this person in my everyday life, an executive of a company, a college student, whatever it might be. But in the digital world, I can be anything. And I know my Genie is going to allow me to express myself, how I want to show up moving forward. And that's what's the most exciting thing to me.
Awesome. And yeah, I guess Ben, do you have any thoughts around that too, or?
But can you repeat again about what, like the general, people out there?
Yeah, it's mostly like, I guess, utilizing digital identities, I guess, for both mass adoption and just like open access as well too. Or I mean, obviously, I think obviously Artifact is going with the more fashion model as well too. But when you guys are thinking about like, let's say Clone X, with 20,000, bringing 20,000 more people into the space, into your guys' ecosystem, expanding out as well too. You guys are now broadening the audience in a bit as well too, right, into the ecosystem.
Yeah, so because as you can see, more and more people are entering the space every day, and even us, when we did a lot of our drops, I think people bought their first NFT, whereas it was like the Ferocious one or the Jeff Stable one, especially when we made very, very easy access items like the pigeon at $1. So it's important to keep up, in terms, even if you have a scarcity model, as more people come in, 10,000 avatars is not enough for the billion people there's in the world. And we think that, everyone will want to have that at some point. Not necessarily people who are not, born as gamers, but, me being a gamer all my life, I never used my real face on profile picture or my real name on internet, or, I was always having a gamer name and gamer tags and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And as well, you guys need to remember, like, one of the first companies that actually democratized the use of avatars was Nintendo with the Mii's, back in the days, and you could use them in different games. And even though the creation tool was quite limited, people created super, super cool characters with it. So I think it's been a while we all grew up with that, and it's going to be just more and more natural for everyone to have this. And on the fact of people using this to flip, I think it's just a natural part of what we're going through right now. Like if people are making life-changing money, and the money is exchanging way more rapidly than before, and not between the same hands. And so, of course, there's a trade for people to use that to make money, but it's also what is driving a lot of people to join the space, right? So because people see all this money being made, and everyone wants to make money, right? That's like the base. So I think it's also what's driving people to join. And my guess is that as more and more younger generation join, they will clearly not join with they will have a need for having an avatar and creating their community or engaging with other communities and etc.
I have a question actually off that, just going off what you were saying originally, Justin. Benoit, so I mean, I know at this point you guys have 20,000 units that you're releasing. For the first 10,000, it's holders of artifact goods, which I think the floor now is like 35, 40K or something incredible. Yeah. And congratulations for moving and for operating with such excellence. But just on the question of accessibility, how do you guys see, spreading the diversity of who has access to these releases if someone can't afford $40,000 to get in on the drop? Do you guys have any plans to help facilitate
so
that?
We have a public release, right? But it won't be cheap either, because as the pre-sale access, like the market decided that the floor was at 15 ETH or whatever. So you need to listen to the market, and because you're in blockchain anyway, once you release it, you don't have any more control on the price people attached to it. So you just need, I think, to embrace that and go with the flow, and the main thing we think always all the time is how do we make sure we reward our early supporters and collectors. So that's why we did that thing with the pre-sale access for our former NFTs. But the cool thing out of this is that not only we made money on the royalties, but mainly all the artists who collaborated, on all these projects made money. We just paid, everyone with their share this month. So I think on the Space Drip, they all got like 4 ETH, 18 artists getting that. On Ferocious as well, he got his, his share. So every artist we are involved with, whatever success we have, usually, they get a direct impact. So on the accessibility, for now, I don't really bother with it, because you need to cater for the current fan base you have, and then make sure the ones who support you are going to continue to support you. And also, again, like, it's not us defining the prices, it's the market. So sometimes when we can, we try to make very accessible stuff, like the pigeon at $1, or even a lot of these items people are buying for the pre-sale were stuff we gave for free as airdrop. So in the end, they make money, they get access, and us, we just need to continue. But of course, in the future, I think we'll make other avatar release, and might be not 20,000 but 50,000, and maybe we'll release them for cheaper to have a new type of community coming in. So we just think, try to follow where the community is going as more people come in, but mainly you can't disrupt your own price the market has set for you, at least not all the time.
Yeah. Absolutely, makes sense.
Yeah, kind of hopping on to I think you talked a little bit about Nintendo and in games and stuff. I kind of want to talk about kind of like the metaverse and taking kind of these digital identities beyond just like JPEGs and into the next level. It seems like both of you guys are both like have huge teams and actually moving on to kind of like the next phase of NFTs, I guess. I guess we'd love to highlight more on your guys' thoughts on building more interactivity with your digital identities, right? Like thinking about building either games or interactive worlds, or even taking that current NFT and interacting with other worlds as well too. I guess if you Izzy, if you want to talk a little bit more about what you guys are working on that side, and same with Ben.
Yeah, so you cut out there a little bit, actually. You said the interactivity with other worlds?
Yeah, interactivity with other worlds, being able to take your identity, right, and take that same identity, but with you, or even transform it in different interactions, right, across different games, worlds, etc., or even chains.
Sure. No, I think it's like the question, right? And actually, previous to running community, I was leading avatar portability, which that was what I was obsessing about for months, if not actually over a year. Where can Genies live? What can they do? Especially when you're going after a younger demo, a Gen Z audience that is not crypto native, they're going to balk if they don't have some form of utility. And our vision really, in the same way that we're allowing celebrities to release wearables and create beautiful content with Will Smith, Justin Bieber, all these incredible heavy hitters, we want to put easy to use tools in the hands of our community so that they can create content using face and body tracking, or bring their friends into content that they're creating, teach their genie to dance, upload it to TikTok, and even release their own wearables eventually in an easy to use way. That really is the vision. I think the next Virgil Abloh is hiding somewhere in their mom's basement, right? Who's trying to figure out how to drop their brand, but doesn't know exactly how to deal with minimum order quantities, or how to supply or source things from China, especially now in the COVID era, right? It's almost impossible. So for us, if we can empower people not just to bring their genies first into social, then into metaverse, and depending on when this goes live, there will have been or will soon be some really interesting announcements actually around that very idea of where genies are going to start showing up. It's part of our obsession. And then lastly, gaming will be the third sort of venue that we're looking to go after. So first, we have, of course, our partnership with Giphy, though, which will suffice to bring your genie into most social networks to begin with, so you can flex your genie online. But then also creator tools will be coming just around the corner, off the tail of our recent hire, George 2, who was pulled from Snapchat and has history at Facebook building their AR products as a lead engineer. He's our new director of engineering, who's really taking on this initiative to help our community bring their genie everywhere.
Yeah, and I guess for you guys, Ben, you guys were just thinking kind of already. You guys first off designed the Clone X in 3D as well too, and thinking about the metaverse already in your guys' roadmap as well too, I guess.
Yeah. No, since day one we thought about it, because when you work in 3D, and not only they're in 3D, they're already low poly, so they're ready for real-time 3D engines, and we already developed the full pipeline to not only to export for different platforms we already work with, like Decentraland or Sandbox. Sandbox is a different story because we need to redo every trait in Voxel, so it's a different type of work to do, but still we're doing it. But since day one we thought about that, and also just simply the fact of when we started, our Discord was entirely focused on young 3D talent. It was closed until I think we opened it like 4 months ago or something. It was at the beginning a private creator community. We were mentoring, making challenges, etc. And so we're hard believers that 3D tools and 3D access has been democratized a lot, thanks a lot to Blender, amazing open source software. And me working in esports and working with lots of very young creative, I really understood that if you look at VR as well, VR is a great 3D creation tool, actually democratizing a lot the access to 3D. And today, with just YouTube and Blender, you can, if you have the dedication, you can learn to be a great 3D artist or make your own content. So we thought about that as well, how you give 3D models to people so that they can do their own stuff and their own remix and, help each other to make rigs. And so we're going to provide a lot, but I think you can count a lot today on the community adding value to what you do. And us, we've seen since day one, we're a very, very proactive community with a lot of creative minds inside. So yeah, we just try to do always the max we can, and then we develop the Clone X projects with that in mind.
Awesome. One other thing, I guess, for digital identities that we're seeing in terms of trend, you guys may or may not be kind of going down this direction too, but I guess some people are looking at digital identities, whether it be collecting some of the PFPs as kind of a form of a DAO as well too. Are you guys exploring any of those concepts as well too, or is it mostly you guys are focusing on the other things too?
I think us is going to be announced soon, but we created with Flamingo metaverse focused DAO. So I think we do some of that collecting on that side.
Yeah, for us, we're looking at how we can actually turn our venture vehicle humans into participating in the NFT space, and then separately looking at what does decentralized governance or a decentralized organization that sits next to Genies, what that could look like. I'm personally obsessed with the idea of the mountains that can be moved when you galvanize a community around this sort of decentralized governance, like we've seen with Friends with Benefits, Flamingo, and some other incredible DAOs. But we're still kind of keeping our eyes on the prize first and foremost, looking at how we can tackle cloning the world, as we used to say, or putting digital identity in the hands of everyone.
Well, and also too, I guess when it comes to giving everybody their own digital identities as well too, I guess another topic that a lot of people ask is like, as the owner of the NFTs, or do the consumers or the actual owners of those identities, they truly own the identities and the rights to those identities, or is it a mix, or are you guys exploring kind of a mix between that? And how do you guys navigate that when, let's say, you're doing like a drop with like an artist or collaboration, right? Like or a big brand even as well too.
Yeah, I can dive into this. True ownership is probably a hallmark of the space at this point. Being able to monetize and be able to or commercialize your digital identity, however you like, is probably one of the most important things for us. And when you're dealing with large brands and sort of blue chip IP, you're going up against an antiquated mindset around digital rights management. With DRM and in the past, like in Web 2 and in gaming, I'm sure Ben can speak a ton to this. You're dealing with more of a lease model. It's not true ownership. Even if you're getting into one of the big games or the blue chip games, you're not buying those skins. You're leasing them from the company insofar as the game exists. Now, so we just brought on actually the ex chief legal officer for Activision, who's now our general counsel and head of business and legal affairs, Claire Hart, and she's going to be at the forefront of building legal structures and helping us innovate in this space so that we can empower our community to own as much as possible, so they can commercialize, they can truly own, they can execute, they can create with as much freedom and flexibility as possible.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't hire anyone, but but us were giving the IP rights for the clones.
Awesome. Yeah, I guess we're hitting our kind of like the tail end of our talk here. I know we can kind of continue to deep dive more into digital identities and with also both of the projects that you guys are working on too. To kind of wrap up, I guess, Izzy and Ben, you'd like to share any other thoughts on kind of like the future of identities, the metaverse, and what's coming? And I definitely think we'll love to have to continue a conversation in the future as well too, with another update with you guys.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't know Ben's thoughts on this, but let's just say our teams have been talking, and I think that's a really exciting prospect of what might happen if the two companies come together for a little collab.
Collaborations, right? That's what it's all about, and seeing how things could potentially work together.
Yeah, and then I think that's the base. What's cool is that it's a whole new world that's being built, and all these avatars and identities are forming communities, and sometimes these communities do stuff together and decide to build together or just do one-off. So I find it very interesting to watch how these avatar communities are forming. Even when we started the punk stuff, seeing just punks liking certain tweaks we were making, targeted, speaking to them, or when you mentioned the apes, or I really love to see that, and you see that every day. So even these days I saw one like the lazy lions or whatever bullshit, but even them, they are forming around the avatars and being active and building together. So I really think that's all going to be about communities and collaboration, and it's very exciting to be a part of it that early.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for both of you guys hopping on. How can people find you best? Crypto Twitter or
Twitter? Yeah,
Twitter. Awesome. And how about you, Izzy?
Yeah, Twitter is the best place to connect at Izzy Pollak, or come on hang in the Genies Discord. We got a lot of fun stuff popping off soon.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for hopping on to NFTCON, and hope to have you guys again soon.
Hey, thank you, man.
Awesome. Thank you for having us. Cheers, Justin. Later, Ben.
Take care.